Welcome back to another week of The Rebel's Edge. Pete Najarian will be joining me shortly, and we'll be talking about some big moves on unusual activity and maybe update you a little bit on how the fabulous Rebel Boot Camp went in Miami. All that and more on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang. Pete Najarian over there, Jon Najarian here. And Pete, what a fabulous time with all the folks that were able to make it either virtually or in person down to the Cardone campus for our first ever Rebel Boot Camp. That was pretty fun.
That was great. People got all kinds of information. They got their books. They got everything, John. And it was every single person I came across, and I probably did come across almost all 150 of them. They were pretty stoked about it. They thought it was great. I thought it was great. We had a lot of great content, a lot of different speakers and everything. And yeah, that boot camp, I think we may have to do that again sometime.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
And we might do the larger format ones as well. But it was, a lot of people really loved the intimate nature, Pete, of just 150 people rather than 800. And I can understand why. They got to spend more time with us individually and with the coaches and editors and all that stuff. Sure. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun, folks. We'll be putting up pictures and pointing you guys to the website where those pictures reside so you can tell your significant other, we got to go to the next one.
Yeah, not such a bad trip either, right? Going down to Miami, not so bad.
No, not so bad. Well, macro, Pete, I'm going to say Europe, we've got these geopolitical tensions. If you haven't seen, folks, like 300,000 people marching in London or the marches that are going on in Germany and elsewhere, there's a lot of discontent. And with that discontent in Europe from a lot of the natives, quite frankly, against some of the people who have just made their way into those countries, they're not real happy about it, and they're expressing that unhappiness or unease, Pete, with some pretty big protests. So I'm going to say that, and the fact that the DAX is slipping because of Volkswagen and Porsche basically saying, hey, EVs, nobody wants them.
Yeah, that is the storyline. From a macro perspective, John, I just wanted to go here for a moment because it's so important, I think. We go back to last week. We hear from the Fed. We had one dissenter who wanted a 50-point cut, but they approved the quarter point. And if you look ahead, John, how about the fact that, and I know we're always looking ahead because that's what we do in the markets, right? I mean, once you've gotten the storyline, it's like, all right, to the next. But we started off very negative today. We were down a couple hundred points on the Dow and the NASDAQ. The S&P was down a little bit. We've completely converted that into being in the green right now, as a matter of fact, a nice spin. So, pretty impressive to see what we're seeing there. I mean, are we huge to the upside? No, but the fact that we recovered to what we did, I thought was pretty interesting. On the other side of it is just about looking at the Fed and looking at what October right now, 90% chance of a quarter point cut. And you look at December, 78% chance of a quarter point cut. So I think we have kind of gotten the Fed chair's ear finally, and I think he's understanding, John, along with the rest of them, and obviously what they're seeing right now is, hey, there's going to be 2 more cuts. There's only 2 more opportunities this year. 2 more cuts are coming.
Well, and Pete, Stephen Mirren, the newest Fed member, basically is making the case live just an hour ago or so about seeing us slash rates. When he talks about us, he's talking about the FOMC slashing rates. And he is going to be very vocal about that. And I think the pressure is going to continue to mount on the other members until we get at least down to a 50-50 draw between a quarter and a half on one of these next meetings, Pete. But it's already working its way into the markets. All right, as far as futures, Pete, gold surged past $3,700 to the ounce. It remains an attractive safe haven. And you know what a lot of people got out of, Pete? Crypto, at least for the short term. They went to gold rather than digital gold. What do you got for fantastic futures?
Well, I'm right there with you, and we never talk about this beforehand, so it's fun that you saw the same thing that I was looking at, which is gold, another record high, John, 37.50. I think it might even gotten a little bit higher than that, but we'll call it 37.50. You look over at silver, that's over 44, or at least it got over 44, which is another all-time high. So yeah, the Burl Ives trade continues, the silver and gold and all the rest of it. And we're right back to where we talked about too, John, with volatility, because we always like to at least hit it a little bit. We are stuck in that range of 15, 16, and that's where we are. We were up and into the 16s earlier today. We started to ease back a little bit, back into the 15s. That's something I think that we've just been gotten used to now, the fact that volatility is staying low, at least for now. That does not mean that that's going to happen forever, and it won't, but at some point we'll see a spike. But so far, we're not seeing much of anything. We're just stuck right in that range.
Well, let me throw out the first stock to you, Pete. HOUS, HOUS, which is basically anywhere real estate. That's the name of the company, honest to God, folks. And it was already a multi-billion-dollar company, but the shares were up as much as 60% early on, Pete, because they signed a definitive agreement to combine in an all-stock transaction with Compass, one of the biggest real estate people in the United States. So that's a big deal. And you want to see some unusual in HOUS, Pete? Well, we had it.
We did.
We had it, folks, multiple times. So I'm not sure who did all this, Pete, but on the 12th, look what they were buying. The regular December expiring 9 calls. And then on the 17th, last Wednesday, again, 16,000 December 9 calls. And then on the 18th, Thursday, 16,000 again, December 9 calls. They're all buying the December 9s. Well, take a look at where those went, Pete.
Yeah.
Deep in the money.
Yeah.
And that's why you want to subscribe to what PETA and I do, what we've created years ago, which is the Heat Seeker and unusual option activity. We're the only ones that can really deliver that to you, folks. Other people just see volume. We see volume on the offer, and that makes a big difference. And we also vet it with our team before we put it out there. But what do you have to say about this one, Pete, about HOUS?
It isn't very often that you get to have a stock in front of you. You get the unusual option activity that's just outrageous, John. And then suddenly you see this thing just perform the way it did. As you mentioned, it was up more than 60% early on. It got over 12. Yes, it's come back a little bit, but that's all part of this whole game is you've got to be able to be there to play and be involved in this whole thing. I'm going to say another thing, and I'm going to say it later on too, John, but how about the investment banks that I keep pounding the table and you keep pounding the table about? I mean, this is Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Barclays in as a piece of this thing, negotiating this whole thing, doing what they do from an investment banking side. It just keeps on going, John. And by the way, the value of this combined unit, it's right around $10 billion. So I'd say that these guys are in the right spot from the investment banking side as well. The size of what has been going on, whether it be mergers or takeouts or whatever, this is another one. Just chalk it up. It's just amazing. And those financials that are actually in that investment bank side, they are crushing it still, John.
Yeah, sure are, Pete. And it's wonderful to watch.
Yep.
And as you saw, folks, many of those calls that they were trading, those December 9s, first of all, December target. Second of all, the time frame and the strike price and so forth. There's so much information in options that there isn't in stock. And the fact that this one's working out so well so quickly, 50-cent options going to $3 today, that's 6x. I think all of you guys can do the math. All right, let's take a look, Pete, at Snap. We also had unusual activity in Snap, and they're driven by a major product announcement and their chief competitor, TikTok. There's a lot of uncertainty about, okay, we think that we're going to get a deal with Andreessen Horowitz, with Oracle, and several other big players in the United States to own 80%. That's what the president and his team have told us. If that doesn't happen, wow, they're going to shut TikTok down, and Snap would be snap to the upside. And so you're seeing a nice 10% rally that's eased back a little bit, but nonetheless, a nice rally. And look at that, as it was just kind of meandering in the middle and to the left side of your screen, and then that sharp rise to the right side of the screen. The unusual activity, yep, they were buying calls, and they were buying them when they were cheap, which is, again, how you move the odds into your favor. They bought those calls for 20 cents, Pete, those 8.5s. What were they worth when the stock went to whatever, 9.20 today? Oh, about 70 cents or so, maybe a little more. Bang.
Yeah, that is a bang. That's phenomenal. And the stock's made this move, John. The other thing is it's had unusual option activity. It's also had unusual amounts of just sheer volumes that have been coming in from the stock perspective side too. So a couple of different things to keep an eye on. They talked about they've got this Snap OS 2.0. That's something they're pretty proud of as well. They're updating their software. So yeah, I think that they've got a shot to be somewhat competitive, John, and it's something that, we'll see. We'll see how things go with TikTok. We'll see how it goes with Snap. But right now, you're already seeing the fruits of the labor of seeing that the UOA that was coming in there. Boy, they couldn't have been more right. That was absolutely incredible the way the folks were able to do that. Like I say, volumes are there. There is some shorts in Snap, which always gives that extra little oomph to the upside. So a lot of reasons for that one to be very interesting. And now we just got to find out when's the next time we see more Snap, because right now they're on a roll, which means they're going to probably come back again.
Well, let's drop into one, Pete, that we see from time to time on unusual option activity, and it seems to always pay off. OKLO. It was up some 28% on Friday, Pete. And why were they at an all-time intraday high of 136 on Friday? Up 63% for the week. Well, enthusiasm for the nuclear sector, because this is how you're going to develop power for those data centers. Like, news is breaking today, Pete, that NVIDIA is going to spend $100 billion on AI. And that, my friends, is a big deal. $100 billion on OpenAI. Well, this one, OKLO, was up 28% Friday. It opened down today, or at least it was trading down today, Pete, to 123 and change. Where is it now? A new intraday high, 137 and change, Pete. It's just, you can't keep this one down. And we've had unusual activity. You'll just have to take my word for it for now, folks. But this one is one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely right, John. And this thing has been money, money, money. It really has been outstanding. All-time highs, as you talked about. How about this? In the last month, it's up 84%. Year to date, it's up 521% or thereabouts. So I would say that this has been a great place to be. We talk about it all the time, John, the fact that there has been this move for nuclear. And with that and clean energy and all those types of things, they sit right in that sweet spot. And you know what? There are a lot of things going on. They're supported by the government and all the rest of it. I read somewhere, John, where they were talking about the idea that this could be a $10 trillion industry, this whole nuclear world. So with that being said, and I'll throw one last thing for a lot of people that are probably thinking about, well, I'm still a little bit afraid of nuclear and everything else. And I get it. But they also have this great recycling technology as well. So this is one of those where I think that OKLO sits in a really great space as we continue on, as you were talking about with data centers and everything else that is requiring all of this. I think OKLO's maybe one of the very best ones, John, that you'd want to be involved with. So you just got to wait for the next UOA to hit.
Well, Pete, and our friend Justin Nugent and our CEO, Mark Lepresti, have a great one out about the Manhattan Project 2.0, where we talked about this specifically. We talked about OKLO. We talked about nano nuclear. We talked about all of these, and for good reason, because all of those stocks are where you're going to get, power to power these things. And if you don't have power, AI doesn't do much for you. So you got to have power, and I think this is a big deal, Peter. Really,
demand is on the demand is out there, John. It is just a fact. I mean, and as we get more into AI and we get more into all of this, it will just continue to be something that is going to demand more and more and more. So I think, yeah, this nuclear side of things is definitely something I think everybody should keep a very close eye on.
What about this part, Pete? Pull up the 52-week low, folks. Take a look. Single digits. It was below $8, 52-week low. $8. Today it's 137. You want some trades like that? I don't know how many times we had this thing when it was in the single digits, Pete. Yeah. Then when it was a teenager, then when it was in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. I mean, OKLO has been an absolute monster. And as great as NVIDIA is, and they're obviously completely different companies, but NVIDIA didn't go from 8 to 137 in any year, Pete, let alone this year. And it's up big this year. But I mean, man, you got to take basically widen out your scope a little bit. Don't just trade Tesla, NVIDIA, the Mag 7. Take a look at what Pete's talking about and what we're seeing unusual activity in.
Yep.
Lastly, take a look at MTSR. That's MTSR. Don't confuse it with strategy,
right?
Which is, of course, MicroStrategy, the old name, but now it's called strategy. This one is not that. This is clinical stage biotechnology company. And they've got a way, basically, of getting into the GLP-1 space, Pete, which is, you know, where Wegovy and Ozempic and all those brands play. And this one, Pfizer decides, you know what? We'll take it, the whole thing. And we're going to drive this thing 62% up just to make sure one of our competitors doesn't try to leapfrog over us. This is an amazing multi-billion-dollar story today, Pete.
Oh, it's big, man. And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And, you know, I think it's in the like 5 billion range, John. 4.9 billion, I think, is the actual direct number or whatever. But really interesting. The shorts that were there, like I say, were there. Probably, unfortunately, don't feel so good about this one. And there were some shorts there, John. So they're getting carried out on a stretcher right now. I mean, this is not a good day for anybody who came in short on this and all of a sudden you get that kind of a spike. That's pretty incredible. 63%, not so bad, up at $54 on the high. So developing these obesity drugs is an interesting process as well, John. Everybody's got their own opinions. One of the things that people like about what these guys' delivery is they've got weekly, they've got monthly in terms of the shots, but they also have pills. So they really do give themselves a lot of room because not everybody likes the shots, right? So they got the opportunity with the pills. So when you look at that, and again, as I said I would, how about the investment banks that are involved in this one? Another one. It's $5 billion, call it. We'll just round up a little bit. JP Morgan's part of this one as well. So it just keeps going, John. And I think that's why I keep wanting to pound the table for everybody just to understand these investment banks are a big part of what we are seeing happening right now with all of the buyouts and buying rather and everything else, the mergers, the IPOs, all of that. So just keep that in mind, everybody, when you're wondering, I wonder if JP Morgan's doing pretty well. I would say that overall from the investment banking side, they're doing pretty damn good. Goldman Sachs is doing pretty damn good. Morgan Stanley's doing pretty. All of these guys that are participating,
pretty damn good.
Yeah, not so bad at all.
All right. Well, Pete, I know you love the Dreamsicles.
I do.
And Pete wore the Dreamsicle jersey, folks. Pete was never in these new red jerseys or whatever. He was a Dreamsicle guy with Vinny Testaverde and all those guys. And they went back to it. And take a look at this and see what Baker Mayfield did against the Jets. Because, Pete, by the way, before we start it, this has never been done before, folks. Baker Mayfield has had 3 game-winning final drives in 3 games in a row. 3.
Look at where he put the ball. He put the ball in a spot that only the receiver could try to get it, and they'll show it again. This guy catches it with one hand right on the point. I mean, that is an absolute beautiful pass. And the other thing is he's going up against one of the very best corners in all of football, John. Sauce. Sauce is like 6'3". I know he's a little bit thin, but holy smokes, that guy's one of the very best. And the way that played out as they were driving down the field, you just got to give a lot of credit to the quarterback and the receiver for making that kind of a grab. Unreal. Absolutely
And
unreal.
Pete, in the press conference, they asked him which catch was better with this rookie from Ohio State, Pete. Which catch was better? The one-handed catch here or the one in the final drive for the touchdown?
Right.
And he said, well, I think he's trying to make me look bad with this one-handed crap. Baker Mayfield, folks, that guy, he is a quote machine, Pete. He is the best.
He is. You know what? He caught a lot of crap early on in his career, and he just kept plugging along, and all of a sudden he has really developed, John. And I think I brought this up last year. You look at what he was able to do in the last couple of years and then put it up against Patrick Mahomes, and everybody loves Patrick Mahomes. They tend to not like Baker Mayfield. They think he's a bust. I encourage people to take a look at the last couple of years.
Yeah. And you should get on the sidelines for one of those games, Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Down in Tampa, because Raymond James Stadium or whatever, you should be down there. They would love you to be back. They'd probably give him a game ball. All right. Pete, take us to the biggest shocker in college football.
Well, you know what? This game came out, John, and we talked about this one going into it last week a little bit. Illinois and Indiana, right? And both of them are ranked. Both of them are schools that are not known to be like great schools in the last, call it 20, 30 years or whatever. Way back when, they were pretty fantastic. And we talked about Belima, who's the coach for Illinois, and how well they did last year, John. They did 10-3. And so it looked like, hey, this is going to be one hell of a matchup. Illinois is really, really good. They're number 9. And Indiana is pretty damn good as well. And they have been able to, they have a brand new coach as of last year, Cignetti, who has done an outstanding job. I mean, outstanding job, because they are a basketball school. We all know that. But this guy has turned them into a bit of a football school. And this game was so amazing how Illinois just got absolutely slaughtered. And Cignetti, did you hear what he said, John? At the end of the game, Cignetti got up there in front of the mic and he goes, "We broke their will. End of story. What else do you want to know?" I mean, a little bit cocky maybe, but you know what? They did. They got in front of them early. They were up 35-10 at halftime. The game finished 63-10. The number 9 team got 10 points. That was great. They got them, early in the game. But it's amazing what Indiana was able to do. And by the way, the quarterback for Indiana, this is in our wheelhouse, John, is a transfer. He came in the portal, a transfer from Cal Berkeley, and had a great career at Cal, heck of a quarterback. He decided to make the jump. He did make the jump. Here's what he's got so far this year, John. The guy's got 1,000 yards passing so far and 14 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0. So I would say Cignetti's got this kid going in the right way. Now, let's be honest. They didn't play the toughest teams in the world the first couple of games. And now you go up against a very good team and you put up the same kind of points that you were doing against, some of the slugs that you're out there playing. This second-year coach, John, it's amazing. So I would say, for me at least, that was the shocker of the weekend. Do you have any other ones, or do you agree that this is just unbelievable? I mean, 63-10, John.
I'll say 2 things quickly, Pete, just because I got a lot of the guys on the boats next to me yelling back and forth at each other. Friendly, but yelling. Number 1, if you've ever heard Ray Lewis describe how when he hits somebody, he wants to hit them so hard that he takes their soul. That's what Indiana did to Illinois. When he says we broke their spirit, boy, did they ever. And if there was a surprise, I know it's going to sound like a homer call from me because my daughter goes to Boulder, but Colorado made a good Wyoming team look bad. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised, Pete, because I'm glad I didn't bet it, because I might have been tempted to take Wyoming, and they just flat out got beat. I know it's not the same as Illinois, Indiana, but I'll let you lead us down into the final one here while these guys continue yelling.
We can barely hear him. It's not a big deal, but I would say this, John. How about this for the Indiana defense? You know how many yards they gave up on rushing, and that's something Illinois is pretty good at? 2. 2 yards rushing. They gave up 150 on the pass. So, it gives you another little piece of how bad this really became for them. All right, John, How about his shockers in the NFL? And when I say shockers, I don't mean just the game necessarily, but where people are, and of course, some of the games. Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, who looked great in the first couple of weeks, had probably one of his worst performances in a while. They end up losing to Cleveland in an ugly game with Joe Flacco, who, by the way, I mean, I think he's got his AARP already or whatever. I mean, he's not exactly a young man anymore, but Flacco's the quarterback for Cleveland. And they just fell apart, John. Everything you could possibly imagine, whether it's a kick getting blocked or whatever, they just weren't there to answer. And unfortunately for Green Bay, who a lot of people thought, when you looked at the schedule, they might be undefeated for the first half of the season. That's how good they look. They got Micah Parsons, right? Well, Micah Parsons didn't do as what people might think. Jordan Love definitely didn't do what people might think. And it's just kind of interesting to see that. The Bucs are 3-0. The Vikings came back, and all these guys are giving me flack because I'm very critical about our defensive play, John. And a guy said to me, he goes, "Hey, Pete," he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "That defense actually played really well this week. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with you or whatever." And I go, "Yeah. What quarterback did they have out there? Do you remember?" I mean, his name is Browning, and I think his touchdowns versus interceptions is about equal. And he ain't Joe Burrow. So if you don't have Joe Burrow at Cincinnati, you're probably got a really good opportunity to have a really good defensive show up. And that's what they did. So I'm not giving them too much on that one. But how about the Colts at 3-0, John? That one's the one for me. The Indianapolis Colts right now are 3-0. Daniel Jones is the quarterback. He's doing an outstanding job. He's like 71% completions. And they're 3-0. How many people would have thought the Colts would be where they are right now? They lost, the papa who was the owner of the team. Now it's with his kids, but they got Tyler Warren too, John. You give a quarterback, a guy like that, a tight end out of Penn State who's big, fast, strong, and great in your first-round pick. I think that was an outstanding pick for them. Gave them an opportunity to be where they are right now. But the Colts, John, they're 3-0.
Well, Pete, the Vikings actually discovered, Isaiah, because Isaiah Rodgers, nobody could keep up with the kid.
Right.
That's something that is going to bode well for them down the season, is having that guy playing and doing what he did. The Packers, was I thinking that they weren't so good? Well, I think they proved that just like the Vikings, when you've got, two sieves at your offensive line, right tackle and left tackle, you're not going to beat anybody. And that's what Jordan Love had to play with, Pete. When he had the whole line and they were healthy, he was unstoppable. All of a sudden, when guys are in his face the whole game, it's a 6-3 game. I mean, and then you get a punt blocked and things like that. So, what they always say, that's why they play the game. Yeah. This was an ugly game for the Packers, and it's not going to get better until those offensive linemen get better, quite frankly, because I like the Packers. I really liked their chances, Pete, but if they can't put a healthy O-line in front of Jordan Love, you turn from looking like the next iteration of Brady to looking like the next iteration of Johnny Manziel when you don't have an offensive line in front of you and all you're doing is throwing picks or missing guys or taking sacks and getting hit every single time you throw. So that's what I'd say, Pete. The Packers need to fix that. I don't know how they do it quickly, but they need to fix that or they're going to be 2-2 really quick.
How about
meanwhile,
your Bears?
Vikings scored 48 points. The Bears scored, 34-10 over Dallas? I mean, come on. They gave Ben Johnson his first win. They look like they beat the Packers right now. And if because the Bears defense, Pete, they were relentless. And, they made the Dallas Cowboys look as bad as I've seen them look. Because they look good against, Philly. They did not look good against our Bears.
I totally agree. Some fun football stuff. We'll see what happens with the Colts, John. But, you got to give them a shout out now. I mean, they're playing really good football. And you know what? Daniel Jones, some of these quarterbacks are starting to elevate that we're almost given up on. And now all of a sudden they're coming in and doing a really good job.
Well, Indiana Jones, as I call him, Pete, for the Colts, looks like Indiana Jones, where even if he's down, he comes back. And this guy is a leader too. And now he's got a tight end and he doesn't mind throwing to him, which, as Pete always says, just show me an NFL quarterback that hits a tight end a lot. Brady and Gronkowski, Mahomes. I mean, if you're going to throw to Travis Kelce a lot, or you're going to throw to Gronk a lot, Pete, you're going to open it up for everybody. And,
Yep.
you know, Daniel Jones is smart enough to realize what he's got in Warren.
Yep.
All right. Well, folks, remember, we'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Check out marketrebellion.com/get started or scan the QR code when Jared puts it up there, folks, because you want to be in on these unusual activities, because the only way you're going to take a 20-cent investment and turn it into $3. That's a $20 investment, folks, for a one lot, and you're turning it into $300. You can't get that in Vegas. Nobody puts up those kind of odds, but we do it almost every day. So check out marketrebellion.com/get started, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.